Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you've had a really amazing week. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time to Mental Health Moment, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here. And for those of you who tune in every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live, welcome back. And for those of you who are tuning in afterwards on YouTube, the replay, be sure to subscribe. Mental Health Moment is every single week. And again, I hope you guys have had an amazing week. We are winding down the year. It's really hard to believe. I always feel, I don't know about you, but I always feel like the end of the year just like breezes by. It just goes by so fast. Right. So, and thanks for those who are starting to join here today. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I am actually at an event. If you're watching this live, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be at an event, I should say, for the Ryan Neese Foundation. We're doing what's called the Power of Thanksgiving. We're feeding different families within the communities an amazing meal and giving out books for kiddos and giving out all sorts of different resources. So I'm really excited about that. Which is why for today, which is rare, this is pre-recorded, but feel free again to still let me know where you're tuning in from the comments. I'm going to try to head back over here and look at the comments after my volunteer shift. But again, I hope that as we're winding down the year here and preparing for the holidays, that you are preparing also yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So I'm going to share a couple of tips with you today on that exact thing. How do we continue to prepare for this end of the year, all the stress, all the hecticness that sometimes comes about? And how do you prepare for holiday anxiety? Because I've spoken to a lot of people, and what I hear oftentimes is there's this high level of anxiety when it comes to the holidays for a lot of different reasons. For some of you, you may be spending it with friends. For some of you, it may be family. For some of you, it might be by yourselves. For some of you, you're maybe overwhelmed with the shopping experience, whether it's food or whether it's gifts or however you may celebrate the holidays. If you celebrate, which again can become very overwhelming, which is why in the mental health field, we see a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety throughout the holidays. So, though, the good news is I'm going to share with you, and again, thanks for those who are starting to tune in here. For those of you tuning in live, it's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. So today I'm going to share with you a couple of tips for you to think about how do I best prepare myself for the holiday madness, as I would say, right? And that anxiety that may come about. So there's a couple of different areas for you to think about. One is how are you preparing, literally, how are you preparing yourself physically, right? How are you taking care of yourself in advance and through these next couple of months here? I know that sometimes the term exercise is not an exciting term. I know that that in and itself can bring about anxiety sometimes. So maybe you don't think of it in terms of the word exercise, but maybe you think of it in terms of the word movement. So what type of movement do you have right now in your life that can help reduce the anxiety, that can help deal with the sadness or whatever it is that you may be experiencing around these times? So, one of the things I always say when it comes to movement, when again you're working on physically being better, is for you to really think about uh how what motivates you the most when it comes to movement, right? Whether it is taking a walk, whether you want to run, whether it is yoga, whether it's spending time in nature, whether it's being at the gym, being at home, being around people, being by yourself. There's a lot of different factors for you to really think about. There is no one perfect way, though, for you to get the movement that you need in your life. All of us are different. All of us have different abilities. All of us have different things that motivate us. I know for me personally, at this stage of my life, thankfully, I have a lot of movement a lot of exercise. However, I do it in the way that for me motivates me to actually work out, which is being around people who are very highly motivated, frankly, to have movement and to work out and to have certain fitness goals. For me personally, I'm not a fan of certain types of movement at all. I hate riding bikes. I know people that love cycling, which is great, right? So do what works for you. I love running. Some people hate running. So again, do what works for you, what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, the goal is for you to be healthy. And again, this is one piece. I have a couple tips for you today about this, but one piece again is thinking about how much movement do you have in your life, even if it is taking a short walk. That counts too. We really have to physically prepare ourselves when it comes to the amount of stress that that you may be enduring during the holidays, even though it may be joyous or not. Our bodies hold in a lot of stress as well. So the first tip today again is thinking about how do you add in more movement in the way that brings you joy, you all. Sometimes I feel like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like you watch different things on social media, you see all these different type of ways to exercise, to have movement. You might be like, oh my God, I don't want to do any of that, right? Which is fine. You don't have to do what you're seeing, what's constantly what you're bombarded with ads and those sort of things online. You do what works for you, as it is bringing you closer to being more and more physically healthy and building up yourself physically to combat some of the stress that may come about from these holidays coming up. That is what I want you to think about, period, right? So that's the first tip for you today. The second thing, and thanks for those who are still starting to join here, Dr. Hammond here today with your mental health moment. The second thing I want you to think about is emotionally, right? What are you doing to really build yourself up? That comes in many different forms. What are you doing for you? I know we talk all the time throughout the whole year about self-care, right? But again, and self-care is one piece of it, but what are you doing to build yourself up emotionally? How are you doing emotionally? Frankly, are you getting easily irritated or easily annoyed by others? Are you stressed out? Are you fatigued? Are you joyful, or right? How are you doing emotionally? How are you feeling, right? And wherever you're at and where you want your goals to be at, it's really important for you to be thinking about, okay, how do I work on building myself up emotionally, right? What do I need for me to build up emotionally? And I've talked about this before for those of you who are new on mental health moment, but for me, one of the things I do often is making sure I do what's called take a minute, which is 60 seconds, about 60 seconds, right? Take a minute, minimum a day to take some downtime, whatever that looks like. And usually I'm traveling around, as you all know, somewhere or another. So it might be spending time in nature. It might be just enjoying a sunset or a sunrise on an airplane. It might be just taking a minute to have a 60-second prayer. It might be deep breathing, right? There's a lot of things, frankly, you can do in 60 seconds. But what that does, again, is it works on training your brain that you need to take some type of a break throughout the day. That is allowed. That is okay. You deserve that. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be emotionally healthy. So again, tip 2 for today, thinking about, again, preparing for this holiday and the holidays, the anxiety that may come about for you. How do you build yourself up emotionally? The third thing I want to share with you today, and thanks for those who are still starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. And as I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, I will be Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you tuning in live, I will be volunteering with the Ryan Neese Foundation. We're doing Power of Thanksgiving Drive and some amazing things in the community for many, many families. So I'm excited to be there. But because I can't be in two places at once, this is pre-recorded just for this Tuesday. And I'll be back live next week. But for those of you who are tuning in here, we're talking today about how do you get ready for the holidays, if you will, to manage some of that angst, that anxiety, stress that comes about with the holidays. How do you build yourself up, right? So the third tip I want to share with you today is thinking about what spiritual practice do you have? And spiritual does not necessarily mean religious. So, a mental health moment, for those of you who are new, it is open to every race, every religion, every ethnicity. Every single person is welcome here. So, it's not just about religion necessarily, but spiritually, what do you do for you? What is your practice? And if you don't have one, what can you add into your life to think about? Because the reason why I'm sharing a lot of these things with you all today is because I found a lot of us, we wait until we're really stressed out and then we try to do something about it, right? But what can be a lot more helpful to you is when you work on yourself, when you work on your wellness in the areas of physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritual life, when you work on those areas and build yourself up. No, it doesn't mean that all the stress is going to go away, but you can manage it better because you've built yourself up. So again, spiritually, what is a practice? What is something you can do in your daily life? Right? One of the things that I do every single morning is the first thing I do when I wake up. What I used to do, let me tell you what I used to do, y'all. True story. I used to run to my phone. Like that was the first thing I woke up. I'm like, oh, I got to check what's going on Instagram, what's in the news, what's going on social media, checking my email. Like that was just the first thing I used to do when I woke up. And I'm like, man, that's not a practice that I really want to have. Like those things can wait. So the first thing that I do when I wake up every morning is I make sure to have a conversation with God and say, what am I grateful for today? Every single morning. That is what I do. And then I check Instagram after that. But the first thing I do is to have that conversation. And when I say, what am I grateful for? I don't just mean, I know if I say to you right now, type in the chat, what are you grateful for? I'm pretty sure you're going to say family, you're going to say friends, you're going to say life, health, which are important, which are great things to be grateful for. That's usually the common answers. Nothing wrong with that. But when you start to think about what are you grateful for every single day, you have to, I mean, besides those four things, right? You have to really start to think about your day, maybe what happened yesterday, maybe what's coming up. Like, what are you unique things? What are you really grateful for on a daily basis? So that is literally one of the things that I do to start my day because it is critically important that you have, and you don't have to necessarily do that, or you could, but it's critically important that you have some type of practice in your life, daily thing that you do spiritually. How are you uplifted, right? That is really, really important. Again, we're working on, for those of you who are new to Mental Health Moment, this is all about how do you become the best version of who you are for you first, but also for the people in your life who are around you, whether it's family, whether it's friends, coworkers, community, whomever, right? How do you become the best version of who you are? So again, I urge you strongly as we head into the end of the year here to think about what is my spiritual practice, whatever that looks like for you. I just shared one of the things I do, right? And then the fourth thing I want to share with you today, and thank you for those who are still starting to join here, it's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. The fourth thing I want to share with you today is really the mental side, right? So we talked about emotionally, we talked about physically, we talked about spiritually, and then really, really important is mentally. Checking in with yourself is so critical, you all. Mentally, how are you doing? What are the thoughts that you are telling yourself? I can guarantee you, because I know the research on it, most of the thoughts we think about are very negative, very negative. Whether it's, oh man, something bad is gonna happen. Oh man, I can't believe this happened to me. I'm this, I'm that. We do, all of us, we're guilty. We have the negative thinking. We have the negative thoughts of who we are, what we should have done, what we could have done, all these sorts of things, which is normal to have the negative thoughts. But the question I have for you is, are you letting the negative thoughts consume you? Right? That's an issue, that's a problem. And how can you work on, which it takes time, you all, I'm not saying this is an overnight thing, but how can you work on better controlling your reaction to those thoughts? Now, it's really hard. It takes a lot of practice to stop the negative thinking. But we're all at different places on our wellness journey. But maybe you're like, Dr. Hammond, I have so many negative thoughts. I don't know how to stop these thoughts. Okay, then let's work on your reaction to them. Then, right? How do you work on them not affecting you as much? How do you work on you staying uplifted? You all, I will tell you, I've told you many times, for those of you who are new, you will know. I myself, I'm sharing all this information with you week after week after week. I've done this for years. I'm happy to do this, but I also am on the same wellness journey as you. And I promise you, between books, between podcasts, between YouTube, between social media, like there's a lot of things that I consume that are uplifting on purpose, because throughout the hectic, busy craziness of my life, many of you know I'm often traveling, I'm speaking, I'm doing different events. I'm a wife, I'm a mom. Like, there's all these things. It can be very overwhelming. The holidays are coming up, like we talked about. But there's a conscious effort to say, okay, I have to surround myself, though, with material which is uplifting to me, which is making sure that I'm staying motivated, that I'm staying dedicated, that I'm staying inspired, right, on this journey. And we all need that. So I encourage you, again, when you think about mentally, how are you doing, and what do you need to stay uplifted, and making sure you're surrounding yourself with that. And I will say, just to be honest with you all, I don't know your situation, but if you're like, Dr. Hammond, the people around me are not uplifting, in whatever way. I know I've heard that before, whether it be coworkers, whether it be family, friends. Maybe you're around a lot of negative individuals. I am not here to say to abandon anyone in your life, but maybe you need to limit some of your interactions with those individuals. And also, though, inspiration and being uplifted doesn't just come in a form of people, right? It comes in the form of however you consume information. Again, if it's videos, if it's podcasts, if it's books, if it's being out in nature, like, what is it that inspires you and allows you to be uplifted, so you can work on mentally these thoughts that are coming through? What is it that can provide some sense of relaxation for you, so you can relax and give yourself a time to reset and recharge, and to work on the mental aspect of who you are? Because again, you deserve to be happy, you deserve to be emotionally and mentally healthy. You deserve that, right? So I want to definitely remind you of these, 4 tips today for you to think about as we head into the end of the year, as we head into all the things on our to-do list. And, again, all these events, there's so much happening at the end of the year, making sure that you're still working on your wellness, making sure that you're still working on being the best version of who you are, which is helpful for you. It's helpful for the people around you. It's helpful for the community, right? It's helpful to everyone. And one other thing I wanted to share with you on, it's called helpguide.org. So helpguide.org. Maybe someone can put it in the chat. Helpguide.org. They have a they have a lot of information on there, actually, related to different things with mental health. But in their anxiety section, they have a good article about how do you stop your worrying. So if you're a person, you're like, man, I have so much difficulty with worrying. It keeps me up at night. I'm always worrying during the day. I can't work. I can't sleep. I can't eat. If you're in that boat, and even if you're not, but especially if you're in that boat, you can go to, again, helpguide.org. They have a great article with a lot of great tips about how to deal with anxiety. And honestly, the tips are not even if you're struggling with anxiety, but even if you're like, the holidays are coming up here. How do I prepare myself for what's to come? Which may be in the form of anxiety. Great article. Highly would recommend it. So definitely check that out. DrNikishaHammond.com is the site. If you need to reach me at any time, if you need to connect with me on social, feel free to connect. You can always send me a direct message if you have any questions or need any resources related to mental health. I will be updating the website. Our team will be updating it closer to the new year with the 2023 events, where I'll be speaking, whether it be virtual or in person. So I would definitely let you all know. I know that's a common question that I get, but more than happy to, we'll be keeping that updated for sure for next year with that information and some other new exciting things that are coming soon, which I will again be updating you all with. So definitely stay tuned to the website for some new updates. If you need me again, you know where to reach me, drnikishahammond.com. Have an amazing week. Take care of yourselves. Be blessed. And again, just recognize that there's a lot that you can do to get through the next couple months here. So I encourage you to put some of these things into place and take care of yourselves and be blessed. And I'll see you all next week. Take care of yourself, guys. Bye.